Welcome to the show. Today we have Ashley Jones on the phone with us. A great smile. She's conducting this live podcast in the comfort of her car. Hopefully she's got the air conditioning on, because you can't do that in Las Vegas where I am, or you would boil. So Ashley, say hello to everybody today.
Hello, I'm so happy to be here. And yes, the car is the quietest place today. So
Do you have a household full of kids, or?
No, I do have a duplex though, and the neighbors are very noisy today. So yeah, we're just gonna see how the car goes.
Well, then we're going to work with what we've got.
Great.
So first question I have is, how would your friends describe you?
I think my friends would describe me as very serious. I always have, very deep conversations with people, but also hopefully, empathetic and kind and generous as well.
You look like, if I were to look at you, I would not determine that you're serious looking. You look friendly and approachable.
I think that's like how I have so many friends, because I do have a very loving and friendly, I guess, aura about me. But I do tend to go deep in conversation, and I think about, the weight of the world and all the suffering that's going on, and how can we fix it and make it better.
Okay, well, that's great. Tell us a little bit about Love Not Lost, because you're the founder of this organization. Tell us a little bit about that.
So Love Not Lost is a nonprofit I started after losing my daughter to a terminal illness. So again, we're just jumping right in here. But yeah, so she was diagnosed with a terminal condition called spinal muscular atrophy when she was 2 months old. And one of our friends had gifted us a professional portrait session just to preserve memories with her. And she ended up dying at 21 months old. So we had, 19 months between diagnosis and her death, to really make memories and enjoy the time that we had together. And so she was 20, or I was 27 when she died. And for me, one of the things that was really surprising was there just wasn't a lot of guidance and education and tools and resources to help me in that grief. And I'm also like a doer and an overachiever. And so, I had been involved in church and sports and music and, neighborhood stuff and sorority stuff and all the things. And I was surprised that I had made it through so much of that and had never learned how to grieve and how to deal with the really hard emotions. And so that was something, that was just an eye opener. And what I discovered was I had, so much support in those photos that we had taken of our family that really helped me grieve and heal. And so I just wanted to do that for other people and give people that gift, of photography. And so I started volunteering portrait sessions to anyone I heard of facing a terminal diagnosis. And then I started doing more and more. And my husband was like, I love you, but we have our own bills to pay. You can't keep giving everything away for free. And so that's what led me to start the nonprofit Love Not Lost, because I knew if I was willing to give it all away, I could find other people who were willing to help me give it all away.
Are you a trained photographer?
I went to Clemson University with the major of graphic communications, and a business administration minor. And I wanted to focus in photography, but there weren't any professors at the time to help. So a lot of my photography skills is self-taught and online courses, through places like Creative Live.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
So you learned it. Well, I mean, some of the best people are self-taught. It
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily need the designation, but you had the background.
Right.
So, but
Yeah.
what I'm saying is, prior to what happened with your daughter,
Oh, yes.
you went to somebody else for that session, correct?
Yep. Correct.
Okay. But now you're doing the sessions.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
So I had been doing photography on the side. And then when my daughter passed away, I knew I couldn't really go back to the corporate world for a career job because I just was an emotional mess. And so I started my own photography business doing portraits and weddings and was doing the volunteering on the side.
Okay. Now I'm getting clearer, so we understand. So
Yes.
the people that come for these sessions, so you make your money. So there is a revenue model of photography that you do, regardless of the grief that someone may have
No,
experienced.
no, I actually shut down my portrait and wedding photography business so I could focus on Love Not Lost full time.
Okay, now all right. So you're just doing that. And do you comp everybody, or do they contribute?
No, the photographers that are a part of Love Not Lost volunteer with me. So really our only like really hard expenses are the software that we have to operate, the salaries of myself and another staff person to manage the operations of, connecting photographer volunteers to the families who apply and networking with hospitals and hospices. And then the photo books that we provide for the family and the other gifts that we give throughout the year to them.
Fantastic. So you're looking for contributors. I'm trying to help you because my
yeah.
heart goes out to you. I mean, obviously you pull on anybody's heartstrings. This is well-intentioned, and some things are profit centered. You have to make a living with what you're doing. And
right.
I'm just trying to assist in terms of understanding.
Absolutely. Yeah. So one of the things that we're looking for are corporate sponsorships to help us get to more cities. Right now we're just serving the Atlanta, Georgia and the greater Atlanta area. And so our vision is to scale to a national level and have photographers in every major city across the US. We also are looking for photographer volunteers. So if you're interested, go to our website. Under sign up, you'll see photographers and you can join us there. And if you want to give just as an individual, you can go to our website. The top banner says Join the Heartbeat, which is our monthly giving program. And we are so excited about it. It's a really fun way to engage with us, whether it's $5 a month or $250 a month. That's kind of the range that we have right now. Where, people give monthly. We do fun things like we have quarterly meetings on Zoom with everybody who's a part of that community. And, they can ask questions. They can hear from families that we've served. And then you get a giving anniversary gift every year, which is super fun.
Fantastic. All right. Well, let's just ask here, maybe shift gears a little bit. What's your greatest accomplishment, would you say? Either personal or business?
I think one of my greatest accomplishments is, I think back in business, it's being interviewed by BBC, giving a TEDx talk. Those are all really, proud moments in my life. But I think my greatest accomplishment truly, I know it sounds like a little cliche, but truly is motherhood. The gift of giving birth naturally and then just taking care of my daughter through her life and learning as much as I did medically to provide the best care for her. I feel like I was a really good mother. And to me, that is just the greatest accomplishment.
Do you have any other kids, or was she your only child?
No, she's my only, and her condition was genetic. And so my husband and I are both carriers of the SMA gene. And so we won't be having any more biological children.
Well, but you have him. Isn't that a kid?
Sometimes. Sometimes.
I couldn't resist. Sorry. Oftentimes that's the case. Well, that's great. What do you wish you had known when you started out?
Gosh, for the nonprofit, I wish I would have known how hard fundraising would be.
Okay.
Some people, I have a lot of people who come to me for advice on wanting to get started with an organization. And I tell everybody, if you can do it as a for-profit social enterprise for good, go that route. Because not only with starting a nonprofit are you starting your own business, so you have all of the startup stress and extra workload and wearing many hats and all of that. But everything that you do to serve people in a normal business would be revenue building.
Yes.
But in a nonprofit, you have to do all of that to serve your mission and then do a whole other full-time job of fundraising. And so it's like, it's just insane. And it's not something I was really prepared for, but I'm learning very quickly. And it is, it's something I just wish I would have known.
Okay. And this is also a question that allows great latitude with your answer. What are you curious about right now?
I'm curious how we can start to heal the divide in our country. I think right now.
Me too, by the way. Yeah.
There are so many people who are so set in their beliefs and in their opinions and are unwilling to listen to different perspectives. And I think that that's where a lot of our issues come from is people wrapping up their identities in a party or in an issue and have become like one issue people. And our world is not a black and white world. Like, we have a full spectrum of possibility and challenges, and I just am very curious how we can start to reconcile the pain that has been like felt and happening throughout our history, but then also like how do we heal the pain, and then how do we get to a place where every person can sit in empathy and true listening to understand the other side, even if they don't agree with it. That's what I'm really curious about right now.
Okay. And what's something you failed at?
Yeah. Oh, gosh. I think that's such a loaded question, right?
It is. And I've got a comment after.
Yeah. So failed. Gosh. I think I failed at so many things. Just, it's part of the learning process.
That means you're a risk taker, and that's a positive.
Yes, it is. I am a risk taker. I failed at a lot of things. Like, there are times where I failed being a great mom. There were times that I failed being a good wife. There are times that I failed being a business leader. And I think something like, I would even go back to like my TEDx talk. Like, to me, like, that wasn't my best performance. And I was really bummed. It happened during the pandemic. So like, there was no audience. It was super awkward. And I just like, I look back at that and I'm like, oh gosh, like, to me, that was like one of the failures that I'm like, I hope I get a redo. Like, I hope I get another chance to give a big talk like that and kind of redeem that.
Well, let me jump in there and address the TEDx talk. Talk. I have done one myself. It was 2 years ago this month in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. I used to live in Asia and just came back to the US 3 months ago. I was living over there for a little more than a decade.
Wow.
And I was the only professional speaker. The rest were first timers. And that's what TEDx is comprised of. So don't beat yourself up, because doing it also in a condition of no audience, a very different dynamic, because most speakers, moi included, build off the energy of the audience and the interaction, the engagement. So be light on yourself. That's not a failure because you succeeded. Was this your first TEDx?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I've done one like you now. I did one 2 years ago. I won't do it again. I wanted to just tick the box. I mean, it may be different for you to get your message out and so forth, but for me, I'm a paid professional. And I did it just because I got asked so many times, hey, have you done TEDx? You done TEDx? I said, okay, I'll accept a TEDx invitation. And I did it unpaid. And I'm glad I did it, but it wasn't my normal venue. And I did it live and it was fun. In your case, you know, I only look at a failure, and tell me if you agree, is if you don't learn from it.
I agree. I absolutely agree. Yeah.
And I can't comment about failing as a wife or as a mother and all that because I wasn't there. I'm only wanted to chime in about the TEDx piece because we share that experience. And it's about non-professional speaking. TED is professionals typically.
Right.
But TEDx is comprised of people, ideas worth sharing, I think is what it is. It's ideas worth mentioning or sharing, or ideas worth sharing, I think is their moniker. So if you shared something of value, then that's fine. And selling, I mean, and talking in front of a camera when you're not used to doing that, that's challenging. So be kind to yourself, I would say.
Well, thank you.
Okay. Now I had to interject there because I know a lot about that, about the whole speaking world, not speaking in front of a camera with TEDx. I don't know if they've gone back to the live format now or not.
I think some cities have, yeah.
Okay. Now my favorite question. Do you like history?
I have grown in my appreciation of it.
Good answer. Because here's my question. If you could have coffee with any historical figure, who would you choose and why? And the person has to be passed on.
Yeah. I would really love to sit and have probably tea with Mother Teresa.
Wow. Okay.
Yep.
Why? What would you ask her?
So I've read some of her books, or I guess she didn't author them really, but they published some of her letters. And, there's one book called Come Be My Light that talks about her journey of starting her nonprofit and how much she suffered and how much, she just really struggled. And she took a very different approach than I did. And I think obviously the historical times required her to do what she did. But I'm just very fascinated with her life and how she chose to, just give so much and try and really help people and change the world just being her. I would want to ask her how she felt and how she pushed through those really tough times. Like, what were some of the things she told herself to help her get her through those moments? I would just want to hear her stories too. Some of the letters are really fascinating.
Okay. And now let's go to the present. Now you can go with who is your most important professional mentor?
I have several mentors that are very, very important to me. Jeff Hillemeyer from Dragon Army is one. He also co-founded Ripples of Hope and the A Pledge in Atlanta. He's been a massive influence in my life, as well as Paul Snyder, who is a mentor that I meet with weekly. And I am just so, so grateful. He's the VP of Tillamook Company right now. And he's just a freaking awesome, brilliant, empathetic human being and an incredible leader. And I'm just so grateful to have his advice and guidance speaking into my life, because he really does help me be a better leader.
Okay. All right. So so he's the one.
Yes.
If you could go back to your 18-year-old self, you're about ready to start college, what advice would you tell a young Ashley? You are still young, but a younger Ashley.
Yes, I would tell her that everything works out, and you're going to face hardships. You're going to face people who don't like you, who will disagree with you and think you're wrong. And you're gonna face some really hard times, but it's all a part of the journey of learning and growing and being a better human. And so embrace it. Feel the feelings, don't hold grudges, don't get mad, in a way of like holding on to the anger. And yeah, enjoy the ride.
Okay. Tell us about your short-term goals. I mean, I don't want to, oh, when you're 60. No, that's too far out. But right now, I'm guessing you're 30-ish. So where do you want to be, let's say in 5 years? Where do you see taking your organization?
Yeah, so I'm mid to late 30s. And
Wow. You look good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
So I really want to, in the next 5 years, I want to start scaling to new cities. I'm looking for, specific companies to join us to bring Love Not Lost to their city. I also really want to create more grief tools and resources for people. So right now, one of our free tools online is howcaniloveyoubetter.com. And it's an email form that you just send to someone and say, hey, I see you're going through a tough time. I tangibly want to help you. What can I do? And then you offer suggestions. So like, take care of your yard, check your mail, bring you groceries, bring you dinner, take you out for coffee, give you a hug, whatever. And then that person gets that list and they check which one they want. And there's a calendar plugin. So they put, what day and time would work best. And then they send it back to you. And like, there's so many opportunities that I see in the world to help give people the tools that they need to really love and support other people who are hurting. So often, people don't know what to say or do, and so they don't do anything. And that's not the right course of action, because people need to feel loved and supported when they're suffering. But I understand why. And so we want to create the tools and resources to help bridge that gap and give people the courage to show up. And so I have a lot more ideas on tools and resources I want to create, and I just need the funding to do them. So that's short term.
All right. Well, here, I'm going to hold your feet to the fire, if I may. We've known each other a total of 25 minutes, but I thought I'd go ahead and take this opportunity. Okay. In 2 years, what cities are you going to be in without any kind of excuses?
Nashville, for sure.
Yep. Where? National? The whole country?
No, Nashville.
Oh, Nashville. Okay, you said national. Yes. Okay, I was going to say, wow. Okay.
No, not in 2 years. Okay. I'm optimistic, but I'm a realist too.
Okay.
So Nashville is really the first city that we want to scale to. We surprisingly have a decent amount of support in Las Vegas, DC, and New York. So those are kind of like the runner-ups on, depending on where we can get the funding, that those are the cities we're looking to next.
I live in Las Vegas. Reach out to me.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's where I'm calling you from right now. So
awesome. We were just there for a big photography conference called WPPI.
Okay. Well, if you've got a challenge from life and you know how she rears her ugly head at times, life will throw things at you. How do you overcome this as a doer and achiever? Because that's what you are.
Yeah, I think I've learned that it's not necessarily about overcoming, but just getting through it. Okay. Like you go through and you keep pushing and you keep taking care of yourself. You have to rest. You have to meet your needs as an individual and heal your own wounds. But you keep going, and sometimes it's breath by breath, sometimes it's day by day, and you keep looking at the next step that it will take to move forward.
Okay. Now, you know about this adage, and I think you are a perfect candidate for what I'm about to ask you next. Okay. Is because of what you've done and where you're going. If you had to write a book tomorrow, what would you write about?
So I'm writing a book, and it is about grief at work. So grief in the workplace, grief working through us as individuals, and how grief is not the bad guy that people think it is.
Okay. I have got a former client of mine who I'm still in touch with. She talks about grief and overcoming it. She lost her 5-year-old boy in a drowning. Her name is Melissa Hull, and I'm going to connect you to after the
Right.
podcast. I think she
I
would
love
be
that.
a great person for you to network with and
Awesome.
collaborate, because her heart is committed to that. She had 3 kids, one of whom she lost, which is her oldest boy. And
Wow.
so she has a heart-wrenching story, but I think it'll be good for you to connect with her. So
I would love to meet her.
All
That'd
right.
be great.
And
Thank you.
what's one question you wish I'd asked, and how would you have answered it?
That's always an interesting question, because I think all the podcasts that I do, I really enjoy the personalities and the uniqueness of the host. Like, that's what makes the podcast your podcast, you know? I think one question would be about, you know, what do you want the world to know?
What do you want the world to know?
Yeah, because I think we each have our own unique perspectives and experiences and knowledge and wisdom to share. Like, each of us have our own unique, just our own unique journeys in this planet and our own realities. And I think for me, I would want the world to know that, like, the world isn't against you. You know, a lot of crap happens to good people, and it's not that the world is against us. Like, things are just happening to help us grow and learn and expand. And so for me, if I'm answering that question, I just want people to know that, like, I hope you never feel that you're under attack. I know it can feel that way, but if we can start to look at all of these challenges and moments of suffering as opportunities to see something different, to learn something different that we don't know already, to expand our empathy and our love and our depth of connection, I think that's where we really become better humans and start healing ourselves and inspiring others to heal too.
Okay. Well, that's great. And I've answered a little bit of this because I've already mentioned Melissa to you. That will be a great collaboration. But for this is, how can I support you and how can the listener support you? I put up your lovenotlost.org, true organization of helping people. Great. What do you see? Do you want more PR? Do you want more introductions? Yes. Tell me what you want and how I can support you.
I'm actually looking for more speaking opportunities. Like I said, I want to redeem the TEDx. I love speaking in front of people. Like, as you can tell, like, I'm a relational person. I love having the crowd interaction. So for people who are hosting events, like, I'm absolutely open. I'm double shot vaccinated. I'm ready to go. So speaking engagements would be great. More like any other podcast that I think that anyone would think that I would be a good fit for. I would love to just, PR, get our story out there as much as possible, and connect with more people to help not only just let the world know that Love Not Lost exists so that we can serve more people, but also really working to normalize grief and have, deeper conversations around loss and healing.
Have you hired a publicist before?
Mm-mm.
Not yet. Okay. All right. So that just a question.
Yep.
All right. So getting your word out there, and you're happy, you just happen to be on a podcast with a man that has personally trained over 600 speakers. And would you have an interest of going international?
Absolutely. Yeah. I've actually done an online summit in India, and obviously the BBC interview was international. So yes, absolutely.
Okay. BBC, was that, you were home when that happened?
Yeah, that was the BBC Outlook show.
So during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm talking pre-pandemic. I ran events every week in between Tokyo to Dubai. all in between. A lot in Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand,
Yes.
Philippines. So if you're interested in actual real events as opposed to the
Yes.
online world, well, we
Yes.
can talk further about that, because that's
Okay.
what I primarily do. Is I use this as a tool to find people to speak on my stages.
Great.
So it's
Perfect.
great. Okay, well, next question. How would you look at this experience? What would you say about your guest experience on the show?
Oh, it's been great. I love it. I think you're such a great, entertaining host and have good energy. And yeah, I've really enjoyed this. So I really appreciate you inviting me on here. And yeah, I look forward to seeing it when it's live and seeing how other people respond to it as well.
Great. And any final word for the listeners?
I think that, what I said before is just, don't be afraid to feel things. Feeling is healing. And if we can each do our own healing work, that's where we see the wide scale transformation. So don't be afraid of it. Lean into the hard things and really, don't let people leave your life without them understanding and knowing how you truly feel about them.
Yeah, I wrote that down. Feeling is healing. What a great,
Mm-hmm.
great statement. Well, you've been a
Yeah.
great guest, and I look
Thank
forward to making the connections for you that you deserve and can help other
Thank you.
people to get through and bereave properly. And that's
Thank
really
you so
what you're
much.
offering is
Mm-hmm.
assistance to kind of get back on their feet. And I think that there's a great need for that. You've been a great guest, Ashley. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. It's been awesome.